We shall begin by chanting the Shanti mantra of the Ishavasya Upanishad. Earlier we had been chanting the Shanti mantra which is meant for the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. But traditionally, when we chant any Upanishad, we take the mantra, the Shanti Patha of that particular Upanishad. So this Upanishad's Shanti Patha, which we are starting today, is Purnamada Purnamidam. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishna te namaha. After having studied the Kathopanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad in the past few years, today we shall commence our mananam, our contemplation or contemplative study of the Isha Upanishad. It is also called as Ishavasya Upanishad. It is one of the smallest of Upanishads, consisting of just 18 verses. Though it is small, the philosophy or the ideas that it contains are so profound that almost every great thinker has referred to it. There is reference to the Ishavasya Upanishad even in writings and thoughts of modern thinkers such as Mahatma Gandhi, who used to very much appreciate and especially refer to the first verse of the Ishavasya Upanishad. Now Upanishad, as we all know, means Brahma Vidya. It is not the Vidya of the external world. First of all, we must know that there is a profound word within us. All the time when the mind is busy, the human mind is busy with external things, we almost forget that there is something called within. At the most, when we say there is within, we perhaps refer to some emotions, some fears, some things that happen within our mind. But there is something even beyond the mind, something much deeper than what we call as mind. That perception does not come if the person is constantly busy with only the external world. Not that the Upanishad says that you give up all your activities. It doesn't say that you escape from all responsibilities of life, because the implied meaning of saying that when the mind is always busy with the external world is that you give up everything. It doesn't say this. The Upanishad says that get that knowledge, get that approach which will make you do your activities in a way that will not cause you pain, will not cause you bondage. It makes the ideal very clear the ideal being, that human beings have got a profound dimension within them, and that dimension is revealed to them through their equipment, the mental equipment called mind. But that mind is to be made pure. Then only it reveals the whole thing. It's like saying that you want to see your face in the mirror, but if the mirror is covered with a layer of dirt, you don't see it clearly. Or if suppose there is a bit of steam which has fallen over it, you see only a hazy self-image. Though the self is very clear, it's very much visible, but when you are seeing through a mirror which is not clean, which is not very reflective, you don't see the right image. So the mind which is not clean or which is not disciplined does not reveal the reality. Making the mind ready, making it competent to reveal or to understand the highest truth is the purpose of all sadhanas. It is not that the mind will create the reality. It's not that by thinking we'll create the ultimate reality. It already is. All that we have to do, the Upanishad says, is to make the mind ready to know what already is. It is like a person who was going to take bath. Now he was a little argumentative kind of a man. On the way, as he started from his place towards the bathroom, on the way he met someone and they had some intellectual issue, something related to a scholarly book, and they started discussing it. They went on discussing for 10-15 minutes, and then suddenly when he proceeded towards the bathroom, the man, he started searching for his towel. Where is the towel? Where I kept? I have to use it after bath. He was searching here and there. When he met that person again, and the person said, "What happened? You did not go for taking bath?" He said, "I was to go, but I am searching for my towel." He said, Towel is right on your shoulder." Then he touched the towel and said, "Oh, you see, even to know that there is a towel on my shoulder, you need a guru. What to speak of Brahma Vidya?" So this forgetfulness or recalling to us what is already ours, that reality, is what is the purpose, that getting rid of that forgetfulness is the purpose of all spiritual practices. Upanishads, as we said, are Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the Brahman. Now, when we are trying to explain a transcendental reality, we will always run short of expressions. We will always run short of the right expression. When we say Brahma Vidya, we as if mean to say there are two things. Vidya is one thing, Brahma is another. Knowledge of something. Whereas the nature of Brahman is knowledge. The nature of Brahman is bliss, is a bliss of Brahman. These are all limitations of our language. Human language is based on certain forms and certain names. Without names and forms, you cannot speak. There has been Nama and Rupa, then only you can speak. And we might use certain substitutes to that. Instead of exact Nama or the name, we might refer to a pronoun. But without a name, there cannot be any pronoun. First has to be a noun. If a person talks only in pronouns, you can't make out what he is telling. He came there, he went, and then that came and this happened, and if he goes on using only pronouns, we do not know what he wants to say. It has to be noun. These are all Nama and Rupa. Whereas the Brahma Tattva, which is spoken of in our scriptures, is said to be beyond Nama and Rupa. It's a transcendental reality. Some people ask, is there a transcendental reality? Isn't all your imagination? That you speak of something which is beyond every limitation we can think of. Is there something like, or is it an imagination? The person who is trying to imagine, at least he is real. All these ideas may be all imagination, but he is real. And when he starts digging into himself, what he is, when he starts making an investigation into his personality, his I, he reaches what we are speaking of as a transcendental reality. Not only within, in one place Swami Vivekananda says, anything in this world you take up and start going deeper and deeper and deeper, you will reach the infinite. Even take a flower. You study a flower, you go on studying, finally you will reach a point where it is come from the infinite. Flower came from a plant and plant grew because of the soil is on the earth is part of the universe is part of the something bigger, and you reach the infinite. Any object. That is about the intellectual understanding. But when it comes to the spiritual understanding or realization, it is not the external object studied through the senses which is taken up, but the I within. The sense of self. The sense of that which illumines the self, illumines ego, illumines all knowledge, what we call as knowledge in our day-to-day world. Going to that ground of reality is the ultimate purpose of all these efforts in spiritual world. Brahman is the ground reality. When we say the ground reality, it means that there is something on which everything else is existing. Just as if you ask someone, where do you live? He will say, I live in this building. But where is that building? Building is on a ground. There is a ground, and within that ground there is something which is prevalent everywhere. Likewise, the one ground of the reality of the whole world, the reality of the whole inner world, outer world, that reality is called Brahman. The word Brahman is to be distinguished from the word Brahma. Generally the use Brahma is sometimes used in the Sanskrit literature also. But the Brahma there refers to creator. The trinity of Godhood, which is Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. But here the word Brahman, used in neutral gender, means that which is very vast. Braha is the root. That which is all pervading, all expansive, which is covering everything, that reality is called Brahman. You could have given some other name, it doesn't matter, but this is what the Sanskrit literature has used, and traditionally in all scriptures it is used. The ultimate purpose of study of Upanishad is to know that the self within, what we call as Pratyagatman, the real self within, is same as Brahman. It is not the self which we call as our temperament. Oh, I don't like this. I have likes and dislikes. These likes and dislikes are around the ego. This is very limited, but there is something which is beyond even this ordinary I. That I, the transcendental I, is called Atman. It is not limited by anything. This I, the I which is related, which we use in our general parlance, is a very limited I. It is based on certain things. Some people, their ego is rather too strong, and because of that they make, let us say, make a fool of themselves. There was this well-known wrestler who was an international champion, he got into the aeroplane and he was to go somewhere. And he was sitting in the air hostess announced that it's a time to fly, please put your belts. When she came for checking, she found that he had not put it. So she said, sir, you have to put the belt on. That is the airline rules. And the man had a very big idea about himself and said, I am a superman. I don't care for the belt. She gently bent forward, put the belt and said, sir, Superman does not require an aeroplane also. This is a heightened idea about the self, which is based on some adhara. Either it is vidya ahankara, or it is deha ahankara, I am very strong, I am very beautiful. This is all related to deha, the body. Or it is related to certain degrees. And a person has got so many courses he has done, and that course conducting authority has given certain papers to him saying you are so and so, you have done this much. So that degree is creating some kind of inflation in his ego. Inflation outside in the prices is difficult to control, but much more difficult to control is the inner inflation, the inflation of our ego. Even small little things, Sri Ramakrishna calls it as upadhis. Upadhis means adjuncts. These adjuncts enter into our mind. And he tells the story of a person, of a frog which got a coin, and it started telling the elephant, keep a distance, don't come near me. Why? Because he's having a coin. That has generated a sense of speciality or ego in him. So these upadhis can also add to that. There is something beyond the upadhis. That pure pratyagatman is the Brahman, which is non-different from God. In the Ramayana it comes. And Hanuman is asked, how do you, or Rama himself asks him, how do you look at me? He says, when I consider myself separate from you, then you are the master and I am your slave, your servant. When I feel one with you, that is at the level of the transcendental truth, then there is no difference between Rama and Hanuman. That is the highest identification that takes place. Before starting the study of this Upanishad or any Upanishad, always the Shanti part is done, as we did Purnamada Purnamidam. Shanti Pata is meant to prepare the mind to be receptive, to listen to the truth which will be expounded in the Upanishad. The mind is called Chitta in Sanskrit, and Chitta is supposed to have 5 states. These 5 states are influenced by various gunas. There is the Kshipta state, the Mudha state, the Vikshipta state, Ekagra state and Niruddha state. These 5 states of mind are spoken of. The first state is called the Kshipta stage. It is Rajapradhana. It is full of Rajas. A Kshipta state means scattered state. The state of mind is as if it is a scattered state. A person cannot concentrate on anything. His mind cannot carry on thinking of a subject for long. Why about a subject? It thinks of a sentence and very soon it thinks of the next sentence. It cannot keep it calm. It shifts from one subject to another subject. Therefore, there is no peace. Therefore, he does not have forbearance within him. He will not have sense of understanding, sense of compassion also, because the Kshipta state. In the Kshipta state, Rajat Tattva is it is known as Rajat Tattva Pradhana. Then there is the Mudha state, which is Tamap Tattva Pradhana. Mudha is state of being stupefied, as if you are not able to decide anything, very indecisive. And in that state, a person has lot of tamas in him. Morning he gets up, he takes a long time to come out of the bed. He thinks, should I get up or shall I sleep little more? When he has to write a letter, he thinks, go on thinking, whether should I write letter or should I not write letter? And he goes on thinking for weeks together, till he finally writes a postcard. That is tamapradhana. Both these states are considered unfit for higher study. Person will not be able to grasp the meaning of the Upanishad. Then there is this vikshipta state. Vikshipta state has got a bit of rajas and more of sattva, but it's not fully sattvic also. That is the general state of a common person who is not having too many emotional problems or is not suffering from some issue in life which is creating a problem for him. What we call as a common state is this vikshipta state. In the vikshipta state, there is a bit of restlessness and a lot of sattva. In this state, study of higher things will be helpful. But the best thing would be when a person is in the ekagra stage. In the ekagra state, it is only the sattva which is present. The mind becomes intensely focused because sattva is there. Rajas means restlessness, or tamas means a sense of darkness or laziness. Both are not there. So in that state, he gets the maximum benefit from reading the Upanishads. The final is called as the Niruddha state, where it is said that the mind is so calm, only samskara shesha remains. A bit of samskara remains, otherwise it is extremely calm. So, the Shanti Patha is done in order to invoke the right state of mind. That there should be at least this Sattva Pradhana stage, so that by listening to the Upanishad or this higher kind of knowledge which is not connected to the external world, but it is connected to the internal world. Since it is connected to the internal world, it is very subtle and difficult to grasp. That knowledge, in order to gain that, we should have the right state. And for that, Shanti Patha is done. A prayer is offered to the Lord. Oh Lord, please make my mind pure enough, calm enough, so that I understand things. There are three aspects of learning. First is Shravana, then there is Manana, then Nididhyasana. Shravana is willingness to listen. Of course, sometimes we listen, and that also is sometimes called as Shravana, that I heard it. But there should be a willingness, a seeking, then it is real Shravana. People hear it unwillingly, then they will very soon forget it. Having heard it or having read it, which means through some way it has come to you, it has reached your mind, then you have to think over it. Various aspects of it, various applications, various implications of this truth. That is mananam. And once a person has arrived at certain clarity of understanding, then he only meditates. He deeply thinks over it. He is no longer debating about it. He is no longer making a argument against or for this. He is convinced. He is deeply meditating on it. That is Nididhyasana. So that is how the Upanishads are supposed to be studied. This Upanishad, the Ishavasya Upanishad, it comes in the mantra section, which generally deal with the various rituals, but it is not. It has got nothing to do with rituals as such. It deals with the knowledge part of the Vedas or the Upanishad. It comes with the Yajurveda Samhita. There are two aspects of Vedas, or this whole tradition that has come to us. One is called as Achara Mimamsa, another is called the Tattva Mimamsa. Achara Mimamsa means explanation or a deep analysis of achara. Achara is your behavior or conduct. What to eat, what puja to be done, which way to go, which things to do in life. These are all achara, connected with our various activities of life. But the Upanishad is not dealing with achara. It is tattva mimamsa. It deals with the knowledge. That basic truth from which everything else is derived. That basic truth is the truth of our being. The Upanishad, as we know, consists of the three words Upa, Ni, Shad. Upa means near, close. And Ni means fully, completely. And Shad or Sat means removal. By sitting near, completely the ignorance of our real nature is removed. That is called Upanishad. Which means it's a means for understanding our higher nature. So, in that sense, the Upanishad is taken. It is not just that book is referred to as Upanishad. Any knowledge which is taking one to the highest truth comes under the Upanishad. Sometimes we find that there are people who have written Upanishads which are not traditional Upanishads, but they find that this Upanishad, this is a knowledge which must be given. So, traditionally there are 10 or 12 Upanishads, then there are minor Upanishads also. And one number says that 108 Upanishads are there, of which Acharya Shankara has written commentary on 10 or 12 Upanishads, so they are considered principal Upanishad. But then there are other Upanishads which were written later. Their numbers are much more. There are people who have written Upanishad because the word Upanishad contains such authority, it's knowledge. So people wanted to write Upanishad. So much so there is, during Akbar's time, Allah Upanishad was also written. And there is Upanishad related to other religious practices also, or sects also. Because everybody wanted a stamp of approval and authority from the Upanishad. That is how they wrote all those scriptures. This Upanishad has this Shanti Patha, which we just chanted. We'll first try to understand this. It begins with Om. The word Om is Mangalavachaka. It represents auspiciousness. Before starting any good work, Om is chanted. Om represents, it's a sound symbol of God, sound symbol of Brahman. Even from the viewpoint of human anatomy, the word Om covers the entire way or mechanism of speaking. It starts from the back of the tongue and ends with the closing of the lips. Om. When we say Om, we have as if covered the entire sound of the word. That covering represents, that is, it represents the completeness of this great symbol. The word Mangala means that which makes you go forward. Mangalam does not mean something just is auspicious. It's wishing you something good. And again, Om represents the transcendental truth, something which is beyond the Nama and Rupa. So the verse begins with Om. Om is also the most sacred of all mantras. In the Patanjali Yoga Sutra we find that when idea of Swadhyaya is mentioned, that a person should do self-study, there Patanjali says repetition of Om itself is the greatest Swadhyaya, which means it is the only mantra which contains all other mantras. So just repeating the word Om, it can be equivalent to the self-study, because it is purifying the self. It is said that if you chant the word Om, long Om, a couple of times, it has got the power of calming the mind immediately. You can experiment privately at your place. When any time the mind is restless, you just allow the mind to chant long Om a few times. It has the power. It was some experiments were done that those students who were not able to concentrate on their studies, they were asked to first chant the sacred Om, and that chanting of Om led to better calmness and therefore better concentration in their studies. So this verse is a reference to, this Shanti mantra is a reference to the ultimate reality. By thinking of that ultimate reality, mind becomes calm. Purnamada Purnamidam. The word Purna is used twice. Idam and Adam. Purnamada Purnamidam. Purna means complete. It means whole. It means full. See, the Indian mind does not stop with just finding a fragmentary part of the reality. It wants to have the entire reality, the highest, the entire truth. So it went on searching and it found that when you speak of God, you have to speak of truth, which means truth and God are same. And that God or Brahman or ultimate reality is Purna. It doesn't lack anything. We all live in a world of lacks or divisions or limitations. Desha, Kala, Nimitta. These three things are always creating some sense of lack within us. I am present here, it actually means I am not present elsewhere. If I am eating, it means there will be a time when I am not eating. There is always this Desha, Kala, Nimitta, limitations are there. So they have tried to reach a state or perceive that perception of God where these things are not present, which is Purna, complete. It doesn't lack anything, doesn't have any desires. To say that God has desires, it means God lacks something, He is imperfect, He doesn't have desire. Then what about our daily word in which we say, oh, it's all God's will? Then isn't it that God is having desire? That He is wanting us to move in such a way? Well, this is said, in the ultimate Nirguna Brahma there is no desire. But when the same Nirguna Brahma is seen through time-space causation, he assumes what we call as Saguna Brahma or personal God. And the personal God seems to have a Guna Dharma. And that Guna Dharma is he has love, he has certain likes, certain dislikes. That is why when we do pujas, we say, this flower is liked by Ganesha, or this sweet is liked by Mother Durga, because that is Guna Dharma. Through all that, a person, because he is thinking of God, because he is trying to fix his mind on something which is very powerful, a being which is very powerful, very pure, that thought makes his mind pure. That is for the Chitta Shuddhi. Without Saguna Brahma Upasana, person cannot make much progress in his spiritual path. So the verse says that ultimate Brahman is Purna. When my mind sees that ultimate Brahman through my imperfect mind, I might see it as not Purna, but that is Purna. Purnamidam Purnamada. Idam and Adam refers to that there is a transcendental reality on one side, and on the other side there is this visible universe. The visible universe which we are seeing here now, outside, even beyond that. We have the universe which is visible at night when we look into the sky, a starry heaven. Some people say that now the scientists have found that we know around 3% of the universe. What a ridiculous statement. Until you know the 100%, how can you say that there is 3%? Unless you have known the whole, you cannot say this much part I know. So they know a little, they have a certain perception. It is infinite. So Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. So this universe which is visible is called as the Karya Brahman. Karya means effect. The effect Brahman, or the Brahman which is taken an effect. So what is the cause? When you speak of a effect, there has to be a cause. So that cause is the ultimate reality. From the ultimate reality, this universe has come. But this universe and that is not different. Which means the whole world is filled with the same divinity. It seems to suffer from some kind of limitation. It seems to have all those weaknesses which we presume, but it doesn't have in its reality. It is like a dream. In the dream you are seeing it, but actually it is not there. So this visible word, Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate, and that invisible word, Vyakta and Avyakta, and also that which is still beyond Vyakta and Avyakta, all are having the same divine substratum. Again, we say that this word is infinite. Even in our day-to-day common parlance, we know this word is infinite. It is very difficult to put a limit to this word and say it is this much. If we say there are a few million solar galaxies like big galaxies, bigger galaxies, what is there beyond that? So we are lost. We say, no, it is too big. It is so mind-boggling. Let us not go into it. Of course, those who have interest in studying the external phenomena and they take the help of scientific instruments and try to study it, they want to fulfill their curiosity, let them do it. But to say that they would reach the end of knowledge, the end of this whole thing, is only an imagination. We find in the Srimad Bhagavatam that famous incident when Krishna took little of mud and the mother wanted to see what you have taken. And when he opened the mouth, there were whole universe. Not only the whole universe, within the universe there was earth, and within the earth there was this Vrindavana, where she was feeding him, she was trying to examine his mouth. She is also present in his mouth. So she swooned, what is this I am seeing? This is a way of putting these truths of the Upanishad. That everything is surrounded by infinity. And Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Suppose we have this infinite word around us. So we have taken it out from the infinite cause, the Karana Brahma. From there we have taken a little. So that much is less in him, plus minus things are happening. He said, no. He is always complete. He is filled with oneness. He is filled with fullness. You cannot reduce or add. That is all related to our perception. That in God such lack or addition is not possible. In our sadhana also, suppose anyone offers flowers to God and says, oh, I have done great thing. Oh Lord, I have offered flower to, now you should be happy with me. Well, flowers already belong to Him. You are offering flowers. By offering the flowers, you develop spiritually. It is a change that happens within you. In God there is no change. He feels happy to see that you are growing, that you are making a spiritual progress. He accepts it because so much of the ego is reduced, so much of sense of possession is gone. That is the purpose of all offerings. Things already belong to God. When we came into this world, we came empty-handed. And when we go, we will go empty-handed. Nothing can be carried with us. So this sense of possession that a person has is actually an illusion. This is what the Upanishad is trying to refer to it. It is an illusion. Try to overcome that illusion. As we start the verse, we find this is the first verse. Try to overcome this illusion that anything belongs to you. And of course the mantra ends by saying Om Shanti, 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 which means by listening to this, may I have peace at all the three levels. Adidaivika, Adibhautika and Adhyatmika level. The levels which are connected with the external world, the word of elements of nature, and the word which is created by other beings, other living beings, and the word which is created by my own mind, the Adhyatmika. At all the three levels, let there be peace. That is how the Upanishad begins. The first verse of the Ishavasya Upanishad begins with the word Ish. That is why it is known as Ishavasya Upanishad. Ishavasya midam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagattena tyaktena bhunjitha ma gridak kasya dhanam. The simple translation of this verse is, the first verse, the ruling force dwells, the word Isha is called the ruling force. The ruling force dwells in all of this, in every bit of it, even in anything that is changing or moving. By that renunciation, enjoy. Do not covet the wealth of anyone. In other words, be aware of the reality which is present everywhere. The word Isha means the ruling force. It comes from the Ish dhatu. To Ish means to control, to rule over. So one of the names for God that is given in the Hindu tradition is Ishvara. Ishvara is one who is controlling. So there is a controller. Oh, how can there be controller? Everything is following its own principle or inherent law. There is no controller. And especially when today we see around us, there is so much of things which seem to have made the world go around. Where is the controller gone? Well, there is also a part of the controller's play. That there is this thing called the disarray in this word has happened. That Isha means the ruling force. That ruling force is sometimes translated as God, sometimes as Lord. These are all different words, but it should not give you a meaning that there is only a deity sitting somewhere. When we use the word God or Lord, it means some deity sitting somewhere in the clouds and through a remote control managing everything. Well, that's not the word meaning of the word Isha. Isha means a ruling force. Vasyam means that which is covered or which is enveloped or it is dwelling within. Vasyam. Idam means this. Sarvam means the whole. Jaga means to move. Jagata means that which is moving or changing. Yat kinchit means in every bit of it, even in the smallest bit. That ruling force dwells in all of this, in every bit, even in anything that is changing or moving. That is the meaning of the first part of the verse. That don't think God is to be made a fragmentation, that God is only here, elsewhere He is not there. Now the story is told of a king who developed certain amount of pride, and that pride was eating up him too much, and one day he said, let me make myself known. So he called some pandits and said, who is great? God is great or I am great? In either way, whichever answer they would have given, they would have been in trouble. So the wise among them said, sir, we will tell you tomorrow. And the next day, the wisest among them went and told to the king, sir, you are great. You are greater than the God. How? Sir, you can send us out of your kingdom. God cannot do it. Because God is all pervasive. Ishavasya midam sarvam. He is all pervasive. You cannot send him, you cannot go out of him. And somebody was making fun, Sometimes we are also more powerful than God. We can go out of this hall, God cannot. He is present outside also. He is present inside also. So this is the first thing which is said, that God is present everywhere. If God is present everywhere, this has got some very serious implications for our understanding. First of all, there is the idea of respect for everyone. The idea of whole life becoming into a worship. Because everything is filled with God. Whatever you do, then it becomes a worship. There's another meaning of this idea of Ishavasya, which means you cannot make divisions based on any factor whatsoever and ill-treat people, or you cannot create any problem for others and say, in the name of religion I have done this and it is quite all right. The Isha Upanishad says, no. God is enveloping the whole thing. We have this beautiful description in Sri Ramakrishna's life. He says this: I see that it is God Himself who has become all this. It seems to me that men and other living beings are made of leather, and that it is God Himself who, dwelling inside these leather cases, moves the hands, the feet, the heads. I had a similar vision once before when I saw houses, gardens, roads, men, cattle, all made of one substance. It was as if they were all made of wax. What the Upanishad is saying, we find this experienced in Sri Ramakrishna's life. He has not read the Upanishad, but he has experienced what the Upanishad is saying. It means that what the Upanishad is saying is not an imagination. It is not the product of some intellectual. It is a record or a documentation of the mystic experiences. These mystic experiences, anyone who has made himself pure and competent enough will have the same thing. So it can be that somebody in Calcutta has this experience, or somebody in Tambaram may have the experience, or somebody far away into some other country may have this experience. Because as far as mystic experience is concerned, the scriptures tell there is no consideration of time or space. Anyone who has made himself competent and strong, he gets this. So we find this in Sri Ramakrishna, that he's saying that everything I find is filled with one substance. That one substance is what our scriptures call as prajna, pure consciousness. That pure consciousness is present behind, within, everywhere. One whose mind is clear, or let us say whose eye has become clear, he sees the thing. So this is the first verse with which the Upanishad begins, where we find this idea of oneness being taught. There are other aspects of this first verse. We shall discuss them in the next class. With this we shall conclude. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.